All right. Okay, folks, we're approaching now what's it's going to be a history-making moment. Jay Powell is presiding over his last FOMC gathering here. The jury, of course, is still out on whether or not he'll stay as a Fed governor. Meanwhile, betting markets see 50% chance there'll be no rate cut this year. I want to bring back Daniel DiMartino Booth, Rebecca Walzer, Gabriela Santos. Ladies, man, they know how to go out with a bang. So, I mean, everyone's talking about the Fed not being political. This is a direct political shot at the incoming Fed chair. What does Warsh say when he sees these dissents?
Well, what Warsh says is I'm going to have a really, really hard time forming a consensus. As a normal Fed chair would come in and do, hello, new leader. We're happy that you are our new leader. The Senate confirmed you. We respect the law. Let's move forward and make monetary policy with you as our leader. Seems like he's going to have a much harder time establishing that leadership position.
Rebecca, for all the hand-wringing about Fed independence, you know, it seems somewhat disingenuous. I mean, I feel like there should be some oversight, greater oversight of the Federal Reserve, to be quite frank with you. The Humphrey Hawkins thing they do twice a year is a joke. But now if it becomes this kind of political infighting, if they lose that ability to nudge markets, not by action, just through, you know, just through that aura that they've had, I think we're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when Trump was calling for 300% rate cuts, you know, 3% cuts, 300 bips, that was telling, right? And he wanted a chairman that was going to actually support that and be dovish. And this is going, you know, it's also hard because when we started a war at the end of February, right? And that war happens to be around energy, and that happens to really impact inflation, which then skews the pendulum back to, do we have inflation? Can we not cut? Because obviously the labor market could be, you know, indicate that we need to have accommodation and support. So that's a concern, and we'll see how they balance this.
Gabriela?
So I think it was really interesting. You had already started to see some of this seep into the FOMC minutes, into speeches by Fed governors. This focus on, hold on, we need the data to validate rate cuts. Not a leadership change. And I'm surprised, but I guess it's part of the trend to see these three dissents.
Right.
So ultimately, we see no change. The committee seems keen to see what happens with the blockade, what happens with oil prices, and hence what ultimately feeds through, especially to core inflation.
But then let me pick up, though, you said we need this data. I think Warsh is really pushing also for new sets of data. This data is antiquated. We get it. Very few people take these surveys anymore, and then they're revised over and over again. And yet we live real time by decisions for the first read, which is often completely wrong.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think especially when you look at these surveys and the percent of respondents to a lot of these surveys and just their ability to adapt to changing consumer patterns, it leaves something to be desired. So future Chair Warsh has talked about looking at things like the trim mean or median inflation. So take out those outliers and focus on the trend. But you can't just pick what's the currently lowest inflation reading. So I think that's what some Fed members might push back.
I got you. Okay.
You can't. And I think that Kevin Warsh is young enough and innovative enough to understand that if we've got more than 7 million Americans who are unemployed, but only 1 in 4 of them are collecting unemployment benefits, that there's something wrong with the data that he's looking at, and that he needs to have a fuller picture of what the true both sides of the Fed's mandate are going to be.
We have 30 seconds, real quick. What's the most important thing that Powell's got to get across today?
Whether he's going or staying.
That's the first question.
That's it. I mean, truly, because if you have 3 dissents, you could end up having an effective shadow Fed chair if Powell was to stay. They might maintain their allegiance to him, which would make Warsh's job very difficult.
Yeah, you know, and then for all those talking about an independent Fed, you know, I'd like to hear what they have to say about that. I really hope that he does not stay. I hope he goes out. I hope he takes a quasi-victory lap. And say, listen, I was dealt a couple of bad hands, like COVID and some of these other things. Maybe I did mess up with respect to transitory. Right? But transitory, like, listen, the planets are transitory, right? If your time period is long enough.
Everything is.
Right.
Eventually.
So before he comes out, Rebecca, what's the biggest thing that you'd like to hear today?
Well, now that the Department of Justice probe is gone, he can't say, I'm going to stay as long as that's going on. So I would like, to Danielle's point, I would like to hear, is he staying or going? Because I don't think that that's the right, whether he is upset with this administration or not, thinks he wasn't treated fairly, it doesn't matter. He can't do that to the new incoming chair. He has to let that guy have his fair shot. So I hope he doesn't try to linger.
Yeah, I mean, Eccles did it. He was the only one who
Eccles
really...
did it, and that was because President Truman at the time wanted more control, wanted the Treasury to have more control over monetary policy. If Powell feels like that's a true existential threat to the institution, and that is why he chooses to stay, some might consider that to be admirable.
All right, Gabriella, you know, we've had the briefcase indicator. We've had a lot of things that we look into for Fed stuff. What do we make of the Powell being late? Like, he's never been late.
Yeah, what is going on?
30 seconds.